Hey, what is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here. I'm host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show for a show for Black men and those who love them. I'm also a certified life coach. So I have the blessing coming up on this Saturday to do a presentation at Niagara Falls, which is about an hour and a half drive from where I am in Toronto at the Truth Conference. And they asked me to do a presentation. I had no idea what they wanted me to do a presentation on. And then they said, we have just for you, Dr. Vibe, finding Ms. Right, finding Mr. Right. And I said, oh my, give me these broad shoulders to do these sort of presentations on. So I said, hey, thanks very much, the Per, for all the claps. Thank you so much. Per's one of the big followers. I said, hey, let's get someone on who I really respect, who I think is an outstanding lady. She's got a great smile. More importantly, have a great heart. So we brought on from Texas, Mind of a Diva, Jennifer Baker. What is up?
Oh, not too much. Finally on Blab, so I'm so excited.
Yes. Once I saw it, I said, we got to get her on Blab. So she is on Blab. Hey, share a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Well, I am the founder and writer for Mind of a Diva. It's my site that we talk about women. It's for women, a lifestyle site talking about redefining what it means to be a diva with the right mindset. So we talk about a little bit of everything from careers to relationships and just growing up and finding the diva that lives inside of you.
Excellent. Fantastic. Well, you know what? Let's get right into it because I see Sister D's in the house. And Sister D, thanks so much for joining in. And if you want to join in the conversation, there's a seat open. When I got this subject presented to me, I said, wow, finding Miss Right, finding Ms. Right, Mr. and Ms. Right.
Mr. and Mrs. Right.
Mr. and Mrs. Right. And I'm going, well, I'm married, but I was at one time not married. But I'm telling you, there's a lot, like, is singledom celebrated these days more than being married, you think?
Gosh, I don't know, because I'm single and I feel like single is kind of like it's like a secret.
What? Single? What do you mean single being a secret?
Well, and this funny thing is I was just talking about my coworker with this today before I got on and everything, is that even being single, depending on who it is that's trying to talk to me, I'll just say, oh yeah, I got a boyfriend. He's great. I love him. And all this other stuff, because some people, you don't want them to know that you're single.
Oh my. Okay. All right.
So you kind of try to play it off like, yeah, I got a man. Of course I do. And we got plans on Friday and Saturday and brunch on Sunday. Just because it's not so much the act of being single, it's kind of what comes with being single. For me, I've been single now for almost 3 years. I was in a long-term relationship, and so which we were together for a very long time, and thought that it was leading to marriage. And so being back in that single space it's fun, and it's also challenging, I would say.
Okay, then what's the fun side of it and what's the challenging side? And you know what? You can also ask me questions too from a guy's point of view. I'm not always going to put it on you. So, you know, I like conversation. Just to tell you, myself and Mind of Diva, we chat all the time. So what we chat about here is what we chat about offline. So you're getting the real deal.
Well, let's see here. Well, the fun part of being single, I like that I get to have lots of, I guess, kind of me time. Looking back at being in my relationship, and now I get to just do stuff that I wouldn't normally get to do. managing a site and working a full-time job takes up a lot of time. And then when you add on a relationship on top of that, you want to have time that's dedicated to that person. So you want to make sure that, you're taking care of your relationship, kind of like a plant needs water and sun. You want to, maintain your relationship in that same way. And so there were a lot of times where in my past relationship, I would work my full-time job. I would go to my boyfriend's house. I would cook. I would hang out with him, and we would, go bowling, movies, whatever. And then I would get home, and then you still gotta, clean up, rest, and then work on a website. So I'd be up till 3 a.m. and then I'd have to be at work at 8. And that's a very long schedule. So I like that I don't have that. It gives me more free time. I get to hang out with my friends. I get to do more things that I wanted to do. Guys don't really want to go and sit at a nail salon with you or sit at the
that's not my style.
So I get to do that kind of stuff now. And you don't also kind of like the activities, that we would do. There would be things that he would want to do, and he would want to. He was a musician, so he would want to go and do, his music stuff, and he would want me there. So now it's like, as much fun as that was back then, I don't have to sit there and do that anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess that'd be some fun stuff.
So, yeah, great. You just put some more light on yourself, so it looks great. But
thank you.
So there was parts of it that are not, parts that aren't. Now, do you find, and you don't have to answer this, but as you go on in your journey, which is a nice politically correct way of saying as you get older, is it easier being single? And is it the thought coming back into your journey, I want to have a Mr. Right?
Well, the breakup was something that I definitely had struggled with because it was my first boyfriend, first real boyfriend, first real relationship. And so, when you kind of think, okay, that I thought that was Mr. Right, and then he wasn't, now what? It kind of gets confusing. And so I definitely want there to be a Mr. Right. I know that since I can remember, I've wanted to get married. I want to have children one day, way after I get married.
Yeah. Okay.
but so I do want that. As to when, only God knows, and I'm glad that He knows.
Okay, understood. With how difficult is it from ladies like yourself and other ladies that you chat with who are looking for Mr. Right? Is it like those who are in that mindset right now of, I want to find a Mr. Right? How difficult do they say it is? Because obviously there's expectations, disappointments. How challenging is it these days?
Oh my gosh. Well, I was just talking to my coworker again. I was just talking to my coworker about all this stuff, and I told her this. Well, for me, I was looking for somebody. Like I was out here like.
No. You gotta have a Periscope. Oh, hey, Sister D's calling in. So this is great. Hold on. Come on in. Let's get Sister D in here.
Oh, hey.
So just hopefully make sure you turn on your camera, Sister D. Hopefully we'll get you in. She said she was listening, so I think the listening is over. Hey, Sister D, how are you?
Both. How are you both doing?
I am
good.
Yeah, we're blessed, highly favored, magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. And you know what I really like, and I'm saying this respectfully, you have evaluated experience, which is another politically correct way to say there's a little bit of an age difference between yourself and Mind of a Diva. So we're getting some good interaction here. So, but please join in the conversation, and thanks again for taking the time.
Oh, no problem. What I'd like to ask her is, why are you looking? Why are you looking?
Well,
you can.
Well, I'm not.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
in getting ready for your Mr. Right, you have to prepare yourself, and that Mr. Right will come. You know, because a lot of times when we choose, we mess up. You get my point?
I learned that from this last one. And I will say that right now I'm not looking. I was looking in the beginning, right afterwards, because I thought, okay, well, I guess that's what I need to do. And I'm not looking. And my advice to my coworker who is out there actually looking, I told her there's 2 Bible verses that I always tell myself when I feel kind of like that anxiety build up, is that number 1, it says in the Bible, he who finds a wife finds a good thing. And the other one is delight yourself in the Lord and he will give you the desires of your heart.
Exactly. And so many times.
And so every time I feel that kind of like, oh my gosh, I need somebody. And then I say those 2 things and it's just like, but my schedule has been so busy. I don't even know.
That's when it happens, because you're busy and not really thinking about it. You see what I'm saying? You're doing things to enhance yourself, to build yourself up, because that person is out there, but you're not ready for them and they're not ready for you yet. That's what I'm getting at. And when the time is right, those 2 things will happen. But you know, we as women sometimes are so desperate, you know, to have somebody in our lives. And this is where we mess up at. You see what I'm saying? When we decide, well, I'm tired of being by myself and I want somebody, and you know, here comes Joe Blow, and we take him in, and you know what I'm saying? And then it doesn't work. And then we're hurt. Then we got baggage. You see? And we carry that baggage over into another relationship. And then it becomes like,
exactly.
You know, just a ball of confusion. So just give yourself a chance. You're young. You know, you got a lot of time.
I think, Sister D, there's a lot of great takes from what you just shared with us. I think one of them I'd like to share is that be the best you. Like, I can speak from my own experience. I met my wife when I wasn't looking, and to be totally honest. So Sister D, we've lost her because of, or maybe she just be on audio only. But the thing is, being the best you is so key, and I think that on the whole, I think ladies are a little bit more emotional than men when it comes to this subject, and I think that. Letting go of the past can be hard at the best of times, or the easiest of times. And for a lot of people, it just varies. And I think that another thing I just build on, maybe I'll get onto later, is have a friendship before you have a relationship.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. I would agree. Because when I was looking, I went out on a date with a guy who I didn't. When my ex and I were friends, and that worked out very well. And I was like, okay, it worked out well until we broke up. So let me try the opposite and go out with someone without really being friends. And then we get to know each other and we get to see. And that first date was the worst date that I've ever been on in my entire life. And after that, I was like, okay, rewind. Whenever it does happen, obviously it will happen God's way and he'll be there and in control of it all. But when it does, I definitely know that I need to know this person and know kind of where their values are, where their head is at prior to going and having dinner or to a movie or, you know, any type of outing like that. And so, that's definitely been something that I learned from it. And I agree with you, Sister D, that you have to work on being just your best self. And I would say, I should have mentioned that when you asked me what's the fun part. It's just being me and getting to know me in this space and where I'm at. Because I was in something for 6 years, almost 7 years. And that's a whole period of time where it was not just Jen or for me to know me. And so I get to find out stuff about myself that I didn't know that happened in that time. I spent most of my 20s in a relationship. And so just finding out, okay, this is who I am, and this is what I like, this is what I dislike, this is what I think now coming out of this has been so eye-opening to me that I'm just grateful that I've had this time to do it. And then also to just really pour it into my writing and to project it to my readers so that way they can know that they're not alone in having those feelings and having, you know, in taking that time. I feel like there's so many people that just instantly want to rebound and instantly want to go bounce from relationship to relationship. And there is so much pain that you are not seeing that you're causing to yourself until afterwards. I read Ayana's book, Yesterday I Cried. And then the poem at the beginning of that just like wrecked me because I didn't realize how much I was neglecting myself in my relationship until after it was over. I didn't realize how much hurt I had caused myself until after it was over, and how much hurt that I was still causing myself after it was over because I was looking for somebody else and I was not addressing me at all. I was overlooking myself, trying to fill a void that I needed to fill myself.
I think too that you have to look at the fact that when you come out of a relationship, you have to heal from that. You know, if there was issues in that, because when you go into the next one, it's like you're not single yet. You get my point? You're still holding on to those issues that were in that last relationship. And that's why I say sometimes carry baggage over and we accuse or look for that new person to do those same things. We're looking for it, you know, because in our mind, it's like, okay, this is not going to work either because yada, yada, yada. And you have to be free of all of that, you know. I'm not saying not be cautious, but I'm saying you have to be free of whatever it was you were into before so that this relationship won't carry that same baggage, you know.
Now, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to mention real quick. I was going to say that I completely agree that that stuff kind of, it really does carry over. And I didn't even realize it until after everything was done. I was in a really bad place afterwards. Somebody was tweeting about Heather and Cornelius Lindsay. They're a married couple that they're in a ministry. And I watched their YouTube, and they were talking about soul ties. And I don't think people realize how important soul ties are and how they play in your life. Because I feel like people are just thinking, okay, I was with them one day and now they're gone. So what? Yeah. But you have those soul ties there, especially depending on the depth of the relationship, that you can't just erase overnight. Just because that person leaves, that doesn't mean that it's gone the next day or the next month. They don't leave until you address them and until you really cut those ties. I call it residue. Like you said, you'll walk into another relationship with them.
Yeah, I call it residue. You know, what's left?
Yeah.
Now, you know, now, Mind of a Diva, this isn't just for you to sort of open up. If you want to ask questions, or Sister Dee, if you want to ask questions of me or whatever, this is an open forum. It seems like it's been the Mind of a Diva hour, and I appreciate that, you know, and she's so open, but we just don't want to make it all about you. But you know, we just want to round table. I think that one of the things that you said about very insightful about when something ends, it's not over. It's very, very few people that can just say, done. Most guys, when they say, oh, I forgot about her, they ain't telling the truth. Now, I always say there's a difference between men and males, right? For men, they'll tell you it still lingers on. A male will tell you, I forgot about her. They won't admit that it still lingers on. So, you know, when you spend a long time with a person, you're there with them. And, you know, and I see a number of people looking for Mr. or Ms. Right. And I always ask them this question: are you ready for a relationship?
Oh, yeah.
I always ask, what are you ready to jump into that pool? Whether it's the first time, second time, third time, are you ready? Because once you step in, it, as I was saying before, it ain't all about you. And really and truly, even if you're not with someone, it's still not all about you. Mm-hmm. Because I look at it this way, for last I checked, so a question, what if there's no pool? Okay, we'll get to that in a second. I will say that last I checked, it took at least 2 people to get you in this world. Mm-hmm. So if you're trying to do it by yourself, you're missing out. Now, Per has a question. I mentioned about the pool. What is there no pool out there of available people? I don't know. I see, that's a good. I see kind of a diva's eyes just roll out there. I guess my question is, where? If you're looking, where are you looking? Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I just moved not too long ago, so I don't even know where to look in my new area. But I also know that from, kind of like Sister D said, taking that time to do a self-inventory, I've realized that my standards from when I started dating my ex to now are completely different.
There you go.
And so the things that I would look for in a guy are different. When I was dating my ex in college, I didn't care if he couldn't buy me a taco at Taco Bell. Now I would want you to be able to afford a 99-cent taco. It's just like little things. Before I didn't really care about your relationship with Christ and things like that. Now that's something that matters to me. And so I think to kind of answer your question, it really kind of depends on what you're looking for, because that does kind of determine the scope of your pool.
I have a question. Okay. You meet a guy who he doesn't have a lot, but he has ambition and he has a goal. Would he be somebody that you would be interested in, or would he have to be one of these guys that's already established, already got his car, already got money? I mean, how would you look at that?
Can I before Jen gets into that, I just want to say, I think it brings up a point that I'll chat about later about what are your core values. So go ahead, Jen.
Okay. Well, I would say that I can work with somebody that has dreams and ambitions. I like guys that have dreams and ambitions over somebody that doesn't. Mm-hmm. That's one of the things that I always try to work into a conversation in the beginning, because I feel that that sentence was so wrong, but as someone who writes and has this kind of secondary job managing the site and the dreams that I have moving forward with the site, I want someone who would understand where I'm coming from when I talk about it. So if you have dreams and ambitions, then we can work. We can come together on everything. But if you don't have any dreams and ambitions and you're just kind of like, I do this and I can't see past tomorrow, then there's kind of that, I don't know, there's kind of like that tug on me that makes me think, okay, will this work if I'm sitting here telling you, I want to go to Canada and visit Dr. Vibe and try to work on something. Then you're going to be like, why you want to do that?
Yeah.
Why can't we just sit here and watch some Netflix and call it a night? I feel like there would be that kind of tug. So I need somebody that kind of has those dreams. I wouldn't mind if you are still working towards them, or if you're still trying to get there, as long as there is a desire for more.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Sister D, your thoughts.
At my age, if a guy hasn't got where he's going by now, he ain't gonna get there.
Now, come on, Sister D. Never say never. Come on, keep hope alive.
Oh my goodness. Well, at my age, I'm between a rock and a hard place. Okay, because the men in my age group are too slow, and the young ones I don't want to raise. You understand what I'm saying? So
you know, mind of a diva. You need to interview this lady for your site. Seriously.
Yeah,
I think you need to follow each other.
We're gonna be talking after this.
Yeah, I see.
I already see like the wealth.
There you go. There you
go. You're so real with it that I just love it. I love it.
You know, I mean, it's true. I have a radio station and I play reggae music, so I'm dealing with a lot of different artists and different men and some of the young ones. They come at me and I'm sitting there going, my son is older than you. What am I going to do with you? I don't. I'm not a cougar, okay? I'm not a cougar. I don't have time to be changing Pampers and all of that. If you can't come to the table with a certain amount of knowledge, you understand what I'm saying? I don't have time to train you.
Yeah.
Now we can learn together if that's the case. But you so far under me, you got to catch up, and I ain't got. My days ain't that long. I ain't got time for you to catch up. We gotta hurry up and get this going. That's my dilemma, and it's not that I don't want somebody in my life, but I won't settle. Even at this age, I won't settle, because I've been there, done that, got a t-shirt.
I think that's the
Well, you guys are great. You're letting me away with just moderating and not asking any questions. You want to keep on doing that.
This is your show, Dr. Vibes.
I know. I'm just like you wanting us to talk. That's how I'm used to it. So I'm just like, okay,
we'll just that's the purr is loving this, and you know what? I love the purr, but she doesn't want to come on, so she's just doing the great commentary, but not wanting. We'll get you on sooner or later, purr. But it's a very interesting, and it's a lifelong, ongoing dilemma that this finding, and I get back to the point of, so what are your cores then if you're looking to find somebody? Like I know Mind of a Diva a little bit, and I know one of the cores for her is God has to be center in that person's life. Correct me if I'm wrong, right?
Yes,
so that,
very much.
Right there. If that's not happening, that person, for lack of a better term, they're kicked to the curb. There you go. There you go. So I guess, how important then is the friendship first before the relationship?
This is to me?
Yeah, either one of you. Either one of you.
I feel like you have to be friends before you can go any further. And in being friends, this is how you find out what that person is about. And don't be afraid to ask questions. I will ask a man, what kind of sex do you like? You understand where I'm coming from? Because I want to know. I'm not one of them you're going to flip over and turn over and have me hanging from the chandelier. So I want to know what.
I love Sister D. I am loving you. You're a blessing. I'm telling you, you are such a blessing. I'm telling you. Sorry to interrupt, but I'm just loving it. And see, Cool Tech TD is loving you.
Just to find out, and you'll find out so much. He will tell you, well, I like this or I don't like that, and you can tell him what you like and what you don't like. What kind of food do you like? I don't eat pork, so I don't want a man that eats pork. You see what I'm saying? So I got to find that out, because if you come over my house with a slab of ribs, I'm sending you out the door. Because that's my thing. I have nothing to do with anybody else. If he wants to eat it, fine. But we're not going to jail, because I'm a firm believer in when you start meshing with people and mixing with people, that what they do affects you. You see what I'm saying? Woman. So, these are the kinds, talk to him, find out, and find out before you fall for him. Because once you fall for him, you'll begin to make excuses. I can change him. I can make him do what I want him to do. No, that doesn't work that way, because he's not. He's going to be whoever he is. Okay? So you find out those things. So that way, you will learn more about yourself as well. You see what I'm saying? Yeah.
All right. Something that you make a very good point, that a lot people still think when they get into relationships that they can change that person. No, the change comes from that person first.
Yes.
And one thing I will say too, if you're getting into a relationship with Ms. Right or Mr. Right, just be ready. You're never going to 100% know that person. You're never going to, because at the best of times, each of us hardly knows ourselves completely.
Exactly.
So if you're expecting another person to know another person, stop that train right there. Mm-hmm. And another thing I say, when you're looking for Mr. or Ms. Right, you're not getting involved with him or her. You're getting involved with the family too.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
Definitely check out the family. You'll find out a lot. Watch how he treats his mama if she's living. Watch how his mother and his father interact with each other. Find out if mama's running over daddy.
Crazy.
You know what I'm saying? Because these are the kind of things that's going to happen in your relationship. So you need to know who the family is. Find out if it's a crackhead in the family. You need to know.
Right. No, it's completely right. I'll tell a story on my end. My ex, he's the only child on his mom's side. His dad has other kids, but his mom only had him. And so we were very open with her dialogue-wise, letting her know these are our plans and things like that. And we were talking to her about how we were talking about marriage, and we were going to start meeting with the pastor about that. And she was like, okay, good. Because as soon as you guys get married and buy your house, I can move in. He's sitting there like it's nothing. Like she's just talking. I'm like, what now? Move in. And I was like, can you repeat? Why would you move into our house? And she's like, well, I took care of him for 18 years, so he owes me.
Whoa.
That's deep.
And so she's like, you need to make sure that you have a house that's big enough for, the three of us. And then, of course, the kids, because I want you guys to have kids right away. And I was like, I'm having kids right away.
Oh.
What do you mean? And so that was one of those things. I was like, as I got to know her, I got to see the expectations that she had, not just for him, but for whoever he married was predetermined like that. Mm-hmm. Because after when we were leaving and we were getting in the car, he was like, oh, that was a good meal. I was like, no, forget the meal. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about what your mom's about her moving into this house that's supposed to be down the line, and she's going to be living there with us. What was that all about? Mm-hmm. Like, oh yeah, she said that a while ago. I was like, and you were going to tell me.
All right, we've got Cool Tech TV from Toronto joining in. Let's get them in here. Nice. Hey. I've got some company. I got some brother with me. Hey, Cool Tech, what is up?
Well, I'm doing fine. Enjoying the program. I hope you're doing this. I like the comments. I've been listening for a little bit, and I find the conversation to be very, very, very interesting. And there have been some very good points that have come up that I do agree with. But I want to play the devil's advocate. I think it's Sister D who mentioned about family traits, and you want to know how he treats his mom, how he treats his dad, how he treats his sisters, and all of that. That is also a good trait, but sometimes you may look at how the families interact with each other, and sometimes, for the most part, it's not good. It does not mean that particular individual carries that negative trait. Because, for example, that person can see probably how his dad treats his mom and says, hey, listen, I would not treat my woman, my wife, my girlfriend, my dream mate or my soulmate the way that my dad treats my mom if it's in a bad way. You see, it can go both ways. But you can look at those things as an indicator, because most times in our formative years, you tend to emulate what you see at home. So at least I agree with you there, but it does not always necessarily mean that if there is a negative trait that is being displayed, that that person generally carries that trait.
What I've found to happen sometimes is that when you see that type of behavior, then either the son or the daughter will go to the extreme. You understand what I'm saying? They will get to the point where they'll be so giving and just free with it and not having any boundaries because of the fact that maybe their dad was kind of hard on their mom, or their mom was, a tyrant type of woman. So the man is sort of, I call it mealy mouth or mousy. He won't stand up. So he'll pick the type of woman like his mom. You see what I'm saying? You understand where I'm coming from?
I understand that.
It happens like that. So it's good to just find out. I always feel like it's a poor person that can't stand a test. I will test you to see, just what type of person that you are. And I expect a man to do me the same way because, I'm transparent. You can see that. I don't hide nothing. I don't hold no punches. I am who I am.
Couldn't tell. I couldn't tell. I had no indication.
Okay, Dr. Vibes.
I'm learning right quick.
I just believe in being real, and that's the only way. And even though we've been hurt, some of us have been misused. I always say I'm here to be used. I'm not here to be misused. There's a difference.
I like that.
We use each other every day because if you're in my life, you have something that I have need of, and I have something that you have need of, and we're putting that together, and we're using each other. As long as we don't misuse one another, that's the key. I'm gonna shut up because I'm talking to you.
No, you're wisdom right there.
Man, preach it.
Words of wisdom right there. I really like that.
Cool Tech TV. Let me ask you something. And I don't know if you're at liberty to tell your status, but why don't you tell us your status? Come on. What is your status?
Okay, well, I'm in a committed relationship.
Okay, so when you were looking for Ms. Right, what were the core things that you were looking for? And I don't like that term committed relationship. Some people may think you're in an insane asylum, but I'll just say in a strong relationship, right? But so what were some of the core things that you were looking for?
Well, for me, I like people who are certain of themselves. When I say that, I mean someone who really appreciates who they are, know themselves, know their value. One who can articulate well, someone who's well educated, and someone on a similar level playing as I am, because in the past I've had that bit of an issue in terms of academically, and I give an example. If you're at one level academically and the person that you're with is not really on that level, it creates a friction because your circle of friends, or when you have to meet professionally with certain people, it doesn't quite add up. It can create some really awkward moments. So I wanted someone who was really intellectual, someone who was beautiful, not just on the outside. I mean, I know it's all nice to look for someone who's beautiful physically, but I look at, what that person brings out as an individual. I mean, are they a happy person? Are they straightforward? Are they open? Is that person honest? Is that person, do they have a good heart? Do they really care about others, about the person that they're going to be with? Those were some of the things that I really look for. I mean, does that person have a dream? Where do they want to see themselves within, 2-3 years, 5 years from now? How can we mesh together? How can we help each other? Those are the things I started looking at. And, when I started seeing those things, it drew me in.
Okay, good stuff. I like that. It drew me in. I love that. I love that. Let me ask everyone on the panel. Why aren't people good at friendships before relationships, in your opinion?
Well, okay, let me put it this way. Let me answer you in a slightly different way. I believe friendship is really important because you got to be friends. You got to understand. I think for me, when I met Miss Wright, I started off being a friend and really recognizing, her for who she was as an individual. Mm-hmm. And although it moved pretty quickly from being a friend to where we are now, but the problems I find with sometimes when you stay at the friend level, it does not grow beyond that point, because sometimes when that person sees you as a friend and you're there for them, you're doing all the right things, but in their mind you're on that plane, it doesn't quite go beyond that point. For me, it was like, okay, yes, I saw that individual. I really loved that individual. I saw something there that drew me in. I started being a friend, of course. And being a friend, I took the time, of course, to learn, to share, to open myself, and then allow the relationship to grow. But I think sometimes if you stay too much on a friend zone, you may just miss out, because if you're eyeing Mrs. Wright or Miss Wright, someone else is also eyeing that same person. And so, interest, you can actually lose out. But I believe friendship, before going back to the real question, I believe friendship is really important. It is very important. It is a basis for any relationship that you're going to have.
Okay, before anyone else gets in there, the PER has a question. Of course, she doesn't want to come on, but she's full of questions. She's going, isn't that what all the men say, though? But if there's a woman that has a lot of makeup and the clothes, etc., that's who men gravitate to. I'm going to just jump in for a second and go back to a comment I said originally at the beginning of our conversation. There's a difference between a man and a male. So, yes, we are all visual, and probably people say men are visual. I think a lot of women are visual too. So I'm just going to go there. But yes, gravitate to. But the question is, I think there's probably some ladies that gravitate to some guys that are really buffed. And there's an old adage that some ladies like the bad boys more than the good guys. So I just throwing that one out there. So just putting it there. I just got to say big up to Georgia Mummy of 2. Thank you so much for enjoying the conversation. And, if she has any comments or questions, chime them in. So getting back to the conversation or the comments that Cool Tech TV made, anyone want to add that and going in regards to, why do you feel, and especially when it comes to relations, why aren't friendships done better?
If I can say this, and I'm not a religious person, quote unquote, but I'm a spiritual person. I believe that, like the book says, everything you do should be to the glory of God. When you come together with somebody, it's for the kingdom. Okay? That's how I think. I think that what we do as couples has a lot to do with bringing other people together and showing other people how a relationship can be. I don't know if I'm making sense, but, I think friendships, if you want it to go beyond a friendship, then you have to take it there. You have to tell that person, I care about you. I like you more than just a friend, and I'd like to see if we can go further. That's the only way you're going to find out if you can or not, but you can't just continue on with your feelings being out there and they're not letting you know anything. So you have to ask them. And then if they don't feel that way, then you have to move on. That doesn't mean that ends the friendship, but it ends anything other than that. That makes sense?
Yeah, and we haven't heard a while from my Mind of a Diva. So it's time to get back her into the conversation. I'm glad Sister D and Cool Tech came on to give her a bit of a rest, but it's time for you to join us back.
Well, I appreciate it, guys, because my throat was getting a little dry there. But, well, gosh, I'm definitely listening to what you guys say because I love it. It's just like so much wealth and knowledge there. I know for me, I'm a pretty, I wouldn't say guarded person, but I like to know people. I want to know where your head is at, what makes you tick. And so I like having that friendship before because I feel like that takes off, number one, a lot of the pressure. If you go in and you're just like, hey, I like you, let's go on a date. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, and your last name is, then that, that really puts a lot of pressure there because it's like, not only am I trying to see where you are in terms of how we can fit together, how do we complement each other, not complete, but complement each other. I'm trying to also get to know you at the same time. I'm also trying to learn the basics about you. And it puts a lot of pressure just on the relationship to begin with. So it's not a doomed from the start, but it's a here we go, having to cover a whole lot of ground right from the jump. And
but mind of Diva, I want to ask something because I'm a podcaster. I listen to what people say. What is the difference between compliment and complete?
Well, I think a relation, and this is kind of my definition, is that you have to have two people should come into a relationship as a complete person. Not I'm looking for.
I have a concern about that, and the thing is,
the rest.
What when you say complete, and sorry to jump in here, but is anyone ever complete?
Well, not complete. I guess that was the wrong word. But they should know who they are going into the relationship. I know who I am. I know what I'm worth. I know what I am looking for, what you stand for. I am. For me, I am a religious person. I want to be with someone that also shares the same faith as me, as I do.
Okay.
I also have other criteria,
sure.
And I want to make sure that the person I'm with can either respects that criteria. This is stuff that I will and won't do, or this is the stuff, or they either they can respect it. Or they, have the same type of mentality as well, is what I mean. Okay. So I would want somebody that knows who they are as well, and they're not looking in me to try to find out who they are. I can't be your mirror.
Right.
And so that's where, that's kind of where, that's what I mean by that. Okay. So I would want somebody that's going to complement those things and also complement, the strengths that I have. And also I do the same for them.
Okay. Anyone to add on to that? Because I see our questionnaire for the night has some more questions for us. Anyone want to add on to what Mind of a Diva shared with us?
Well, in terms of what Mind of a Diva mentioned, I think, apart from knowing who one really is and being certain, I think being a friend and looking at, how one complements versus being complete. No one person is really complete, if I should put it that way. There are things that we're probably good at, maybe things that we can share pretty well. I think the best word to look at is compliment. In the sense that, and I see, Sister D is in agreement there, compliment, because sometimes for example, I can be really good at something and Sister D may not be good at that. For example, a typical word, patience. One person in the relationship could be very patient while the other is not patient.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that person who is patient, over time can help that person become patient.
Yes.
You know, sometimes, like, for example, there are some things that I can't do very well. Take, for example, folding clothes. Okay, I don't know if it's a men's thing or not.
No, hey, don't leave me out of this, because I love to wash clothes. I love to iron clothes. So you and I are in a different space there, but go on.
Okay, I love to iron. I like to wash.
Okay.
Just don't ask me to fold. Okay, because it's not, for me, it's not one of my strengths. But my partner, I mean, she loves to do that. I am not good at when it comes to shopping for clothes. When it comes to, for example, you know, things that will match nicely here and there, it's not my strength, but it's one of the strengths of my partner, and that complements me. You see, there are some things on my end that I may be good at that she may not be good at, and I complement her in that way. Completeness, no one person is really complete. I think knowing your state of mind, knowing who you are, where you are, what your value is as a person is very important. Also, just one other thing that I wanted to mention is respect for each other. I believe, you know, respect goes a long way. Sometimes we don't respect people's views and opinions. We don't always have to agree, but we have to respect each other.
Exactly.
And once you have that form of mutual respect, a lot of things becomes a lot easier. It may not always be that I like it, but I respect her opinion, and vice versa. Then we see eye to eye a lot better. Less arguments, and that's what I think is important.
Cool Tech, I thought you were going to say that you couldn't cook, and I was going to say because most Caribbean men can cook.
Well, listen to me, sister. I can cook.
I knew that.
I can cook, bake, go all the 9 yards.
Let's get to, I guess, our resident questionnaire of the night. The Per asks, is it wise to date a friend and risk losing it all?
For me, it worked out until 6 years later, to be quite honest. Well, I guess my story is that we were friends for a year before we started dating, and that was one of our first conversations. It was, I like you. Okay, well, I kind of like you too. I mean, you cool. And then I'm like, all right, well, what do we do now that we know that we like each other? Do we do something about it, or do we leave it alone? Mm-hmm. And I was for leaving it alone because I was nervous, because I like having my friends. I told him I don't want to move into a relationship where something happens and we lose each other, because that, you know, we have a good time, we're cool, we respect, trust each other. You know, that was my go-to person. Whatever I had to say, get off my chest, he was that person. And he said, well, I feel the same way, but I can't sit here and just act as though that's not there, especially knowing that you feel the same way. And so we started dating, and it was a great relationship because we already had that foundation. I trusted him. I respected him. I knew that I could be open and honest. So there wasn't any guard there where I felt like, okay, he's doing this wrong. Should I say something? No, I don't want to say anything because I don't want to offend him, or I don't want to, seem blah, blah, blah. Because he's already seen all of that stuff, so it worked out for us.
I would think that would be kind of relationship because you were friends and you saw each other's faults and stuff beforehand, so you didn't have to pretend, because a lot of times we do put our best foot forward to show the best side of us. And then when the bad side comes out, that's when the relationship falls apart, because somebody will say, well, I didn't know you were like that, because we put this big facade up, like, we don't want them to see how we really are. And so I would think that would be the best kind of relationship to have is a friendship. And if it can go to something deeper, then fine. I see nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, Cool Tech, anything to add on to that?
Well, relationships that stem from really good friendships tend to be the relationships that last. Like Sister D mentioned, the mask is already out. You know that person inside out, if I should put it that way already. So, there's very little that person can keep back from you unless that person is really, 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 really good at hiding stuff.
Yes.
You would already know certain things about that. Their likes, their dislikes, the kind of friends, their family, the hobbies of that person, where that person's mindset is at. You'll already know that base about that person. And if it's something that fits into what you can accept, or something that you're looking for, and you have that mutual feeling, and it goes beyond being a friend, then I would say go for it. I mean, those relationships last, because there is, at the end of the day, I believe in any relationship, you still have to maintain being a friend. Why I say that, it may sound contradictory to some, but it is important to be able to speak to that person, share with that person.
Exactly.
Because, there are days we say that, you know what, I don't love you. Sometimes you feel like that, like you don't love. But it's a friendship that helps keep it together. Exactly. I mean, it's really sets the base, because you remember in the first case, why is it did we fall in love? Why is it that we came together? Those are the core things that allows the relationship to glue and to bond and to make it what it is. So if one has a really good friendship and you can communicate openly, share with that person how you feel, and you have that mutual respect and trust, I mean, I say kudos, go for it.
Well, Cool Tech TV, as we say down home, you knock a 6 with that.
Well, I wanted to say that you brought up a lot of really great points, and I saw that the Per wrote here in the comments, sometimes you react differently to a friend versus a partner in certain situations, and I would say that there's definitely that case, and I'll kind of give you 2 examples. One is silly me. So when we were friends, I don't care how you see me looking. So one time he brought breakfast over because he knew I was studying. I had my headscarf on, no makeup. I was running around in my bathrobe trying to study and do stuff. Once we got in a relationship, every time you saw me, I was dolled up. So it was like, even though you've already seen that's the rollers and the mama robe and everything else, relationships are different. But also, I think that being friends versus being in a relationship, I noticed the hard way that when you're giving the person advice about things that are near and dear to their heart, especially family, you can address your perspective on someone's family differently as a friend versus as a partner in a relationship. And so, there are going to be kind of the conversations that the tone is going to be different from a friend to a partner. But the basis of the relationship, where you have the trust and the respect and the communication, is going to be, you want to keep that. You want to keep that foundation. there, and that's something that you get to build.
I want to kind of kick in a little bit, and I want to pick on mine with a diva. Yeah, I want to pick on her a little bit.
Be careful now. No. I got her back. Be careful now.
But I like her comments, but I mean, I'm gonna just try to be. I will be at the devil's advocate just a little.
Yes,
bit.
I knew that. You hesitated.
Yeah,
that. I was going to say it for you. But okay, so go for it.
The thing is, being a friend versus a partner. In a relationship, I want to comment on that. When you're a friend, or you go into a relationship, you're still a friend. You still have to be a friend. It doesn't matter. For me, the changing the tone and how you're saying things may or may not make sense. To me, it does not. Because if as a friend, the part is black, even though we go into a relationship and the part is black, I will still tell you that part is black.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I will still tell you the part is black. I would not sugarcoat it and say, well, it looked kind of different here. And no, because in the first case, what drew you as a friend is certain attributes. Why should that change just because you're now into a relationship? Mm-hmm. No, I think you should still be you. If the person respects you, loves you, and appreciates you for the person that you were as a friend, then it will be amplified more when you're in that relationship. Mm-hmm. That's the way that I see it. When it comes to the dolls up and looking nice, of course, you would want to keep interest as well. Something that a lot of people tend to throw off in a relationship is that earlier on in the relationship, they do the hair, guys go to the barber very often, they do this, they do that. And after a while that fades. It should be the other way around. It should be that you always want to capture that person's interest. Because at the end of the day, when you look at it, there are people who are looking for your attention. I mean, if at home, and I could be putting myself on a tough situation, but if at home you're not seeing certain things at home or not getting certain things at home, you might be looking for it. I'm not saying you will, but you might look for it elsewhere. So if before, as you put yourself in the robe and all of that and stuff, I mean, I see nothing wrong with you dollsing up and putting on that, but it should not be just because you're in the relationship. But it should be more that you want to ensure that you keep that person's interest, you keep that person happy. That person is even more happy to see you. It doesn't mean that if you're not all dolls up, that the person will not be happy, but you're maintaining interest. Because whether you like it or not, if your partner is somebody that other people think could be a good soul, a good partner, they're going to come.
Exactly.
They're going to come, and they're going to come really hard. And, so we have to have that bit of balance. And but the most thing I want to get back to is that you have to be true to yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And no escape of that.
Good point. Sister D, it's been a while since you've shared anything that's on your heart.
Well, I want to agree with what Cool Tech said, because, so many times we as women have a tendency to, once we get you, we go another route. Like he says, we start with the rollers in the hair and the cold cream on the face and all of this. And the man is looking like, well, what happened to that diva that I had? And I talk to like my daughter and my granddaughter, and I tell them all the time, if you keep that man's interest, because like he said, there's somebody out there. There's, they say it's what, 10 women for one man. If you ain't careful,
something like that.
If you ain't careful, you're gonna lose him. So it's let that flannel mess, get in the bed with something nice. Doesn't mean that you have to do anything, but you're letting him know, hey, this is what you got. You know what I'm saying? So, and we as women need to do that. And as well as the men, don't be walking around there smelling, with the wife beat on and all that mess. We like to see you all looking good too, so it works both ways. It works both ways.
And I will certainly second to that in that if you're in a good relationship, you're looking out for the best in each other. Mm-hmm. So even times when you're going out and if you don't think something looks right, like every lady that's in a real strong relationship before she's going out is going to ask her guy, "How do I look, honey?"
Exactly. And she's able to tell her man, "Honey, you look good. You're handsome." Let him know how
there you go.
Because it's a woman waiting out there that's might not mean him any good. That's gonna tell him, "Ooh, you look so good," and you didn't tell him that, but that lady did. So make the man feel like he's somebody.
And this brings into another thing. It just came to my mind, and not everyone's attuned to this, and most people aren't. If you're looking for Ms. or Mr. Right, what is your love language, and what is the person? If you're with somebody or you're looking, what is their love language? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you should know first. Again, one of the things I picked up a long time ago is when a lot of the people use the word intimacy, but mm-hmm. I look at it as into me see.
I like that.
Yes. Into me see. So I think that everyone needs to know what is your love language, and is if you're looking for Mr. Right or Ms. Right, do they know your love language? And then reciprocal, do you know their love language? Because not everyone's love language is looking pretty and nice. And other people are acts of service. Other people are kind words. Does that person know your love language? And do you know their love language? Because if you don't know each other's love language, you're going to have a hard time. Not to say it's going to be impossible, but again, it's not going to be easy.
That's right.
Just a thought.
Yeah.
Just a thought. Just a thought.
That's where talking to each communication is the key. Communication, talk person.
Well, that's where ladies have a little bit on the whole advantage over guys, because and I guess that's another thing, and I'll say on the guys, and I'm guilty of it sometimes. You ladies, I remember this illustration one day is that if a lady goes to the hair salon and she comes back home, so what'd you talk about? That conversation can last a while. So if a guy goes to a barbershop and he comes back and significant other says, "How was it?" "Fine." Whereas ladies are on the whole a little bit more expressive, and I think, and it's hard, and a lot of guys are not nurtured. And again, that's another thing of love languages and all that stuff that we have to work through when you're looking for Mr. or Ms. Right. You've got to find out how is that person, what's their life, and again, is it something that you can handle? Again, that's another thing too. It's one thing to know it, but can you accept it? Can you work with it? And that's either way. Knowing is one thing. Working with it, accepting it is another thing.
But you have to be able to sit down with your significant other, a woman.
Yes.
See, this is where being a woman is important. You have to be able to sit down and talk to him and let him feel how open you are to him so that he can open up to you. You see, so many of us, we're so busy trying to tell him what's going on with us. We're not interested in what's going on with him. You see what I'm saying? So you have to sit down and say, "Well, honey, what's on your mind? Let's talk about what's on your heart today." And sometimes he will open up to you,
Nice. Well, one of the things I always say is when you work together, you win together.
Yes.
Simple. Exactly. When you work together, you win together. Like I'm just using a perfect example. Coming up this Saturday, I'm giving a presentation on this subject, and my wife is going to be with me there. And the reason why I want her to support me, because one of the things I always find wonderful is when either a husband or wife is giving a presentation and their significant other is looking at them admirably. That's a special feeling. When I see that, I think that's special. And another reason why is most of the people at the conference are going to be ladies. So if they can't relate to me, there she is. Exactly. There's a lady that has to deal with this crazy guy. So that's the way I look at it. So yeah, I think working together and winning together is very important. But I think one of the challenges is a lot of times we're not taught friendship. A lot of times friendship is a crash course, especially when it's amongst the different sexes. It's a crash course. We all know how to be friends, girls with the girls and guys with the guys, but you don't see it a lot of times where across the sexes there's friends that can have chats, you know. But then there's other cases too where I know ladies who get with Mr. Right and their girlfriend sort of just distance away from her.
Can I go out on a limb and say
uh-oh, here we go. Get ready for the props, everybody.
Now, the reason why I believe this is so is because we are raised differently. Men are raised to see women sometimes as objects. We are raised to see men as providers and somebody that's going to take care of us. You see what I'm saying? Okay. So we don't negate we negate the fact that this is a man, he has feelings. This is a woman, she has feelings. She's more than a bed partner. She's more than a sex object. He's more than a paycheck. You see what I'm saying? We're taught the wrong things. From a child, a woman is taught, you know, you grow up and you get a husband, you get married, and you make sure you don't let the little boys play with you because that's all you got to give. Well, my thinking is when he gives you himself, that's all he's got to give. When you're talking about the sexual part of it, you know, now he is supposed to be the provider, but in this day and age, both people have to provide because of the way the economy is. It's not about you sitting home watching All My Children. You see, you got to get out there and do something too to help put some bread on the table. And there shouldn't be an issue with that. We shouldn't always look to the man and say, well, you the man, you're supposed to do all that. It doesn't work that way anymore. You know, we put our stuff together so that we can survive. You know?
Well, I think that a number of things before we go further, I know she just signed off, but Georgia Mummy of 2 just had a comment. She have a great night. Thanks for letting me listen and meeting a few friends on Blab. So that's what Blab is all about, creating new friendships. And also to Sister D, I will be doing another show because it sounds like this is a topic. How are men and women handling the changing roles in today's society?
We could go.
And I think that's coming. Don't worry. That one's coming.
You want to go now? Cause we.
See, well, that's on my. That's on many of my shows. The topics come up from just the conversation. So I've already written it down about the changing roles. How are men and women handling the changing roles in society? Because I think that's also part about Ms. Right and Mr. Right. And you were mentioning how boys and girls are raised. Something that was something that I remember a number of years ago that was taught to me. When most boys grow up, they play sports. Agreed? Many boys, right?
Yeah.
No one's going to disagree with that. And in sports, it's a game who scores the most points wins. So in a lot of situations, there are a number of guys out there that take relationship as a game and getting the most points.
Yes, exactly. I agree.
I agree with that.
So that's a thing that we have to realize, and a lot of ladies are raised too with like they play. I don't play with dolls, and they're being somewhat exposed to that family, that nurturing side from a long way back, early in their time. Whereas guys are out there playing this, that. Right. I want to win this, that. So right there, again, from a young age, many of us are not taught about friendship.
Exactly.
So it's no surprise that when we get into our adult years, we're not really good at it, and we have to a lot of times mess up to get good at it.
That's true. Yeah, that's so true.
It's sad. It is a sad reality, but it is very true. And we have, in the Caribbean, we do have that a lot. For example, if a guy has more than one girl, he's considered a sparrow. He's known as the dawn. But for a woman, she's seen differently.
Yes.
And it all goes back to the point of nurture, how one was and how one grew up, the kind of things that they were exposed to. And that plays out later on when one begins to look for a partner, because when you cannot learn to see a person for who they are and not just as an object or someone to just satisfy some urge or need, or temporal need, I should put it that way. When we just see that person like that, then to commit is going to be hard.
Yeah.
To respect that person is going to be difficult. And, I believe we need to, even as men, and I want to put it this way, I believe as men, we need to change our way of thinking. I mean, women are meant to be respected, to be treated properly. We do not like to communicate as men. It's one of our weakest points, communication.
Mm-hmm.
But I also believe that a good woman knows how to assist and help that guy to communicate. Remember, we were having this communicated point, compliment versus being complete.
Yes.
Part of complimenting is helping to bring out that side in Mr. Right that, maybe non-existent or maybe there, but he does not know how to express himself. And as men, when it comes to expressing how we feel, it's difficult.
Yes.
It is a harsh reality, but it's difficult to open up and say, this is how I feel, because our ego is something that we try to protect. We don't want to let ourselves see, others see that we're weak. At one point in time, I thought,
where does that come from?
Again,
doesn't that come from
how we were raised? For example, for how we were raised.
Yes.
For example, I was told when I was growing up, when a guy is crying, it shows that he's weak. But then I have learned that when a guy cries, it's not that because he's weak. He is strong. He's expressing that emotion.
Yes.
So, those are the things, as I said, in terms of nurture, be and complimenting and knowing oneself and all of that. I mean, we as men, we need to understand as well who we are as guys, and we need to change our mindset, because for many of the things that we do as guys, when we're searching for misright and in the process misuse and abusing women, we do not want for another guy to do that to our sister.
Exactly.
We don't want that to happen to our sister. So I always say the way that I would treat someone else is the way that I would want for my sister to be treated.
Strong.
And I'll give another one to Sister D. I'm a bit spiritual as well. So one time I told a guy that the day he became a Hittite is the day my sister becomes a Levite. Because it all comes back down to respect. And, sometimes, and there's a notion in the Caribbean, I think, I just want to mention that a little bit. Sometimes we say that when the women will say, when the guy beats me, it's because he loves me, or vice versa. I don't subscribe to that at all. I don't. And that is why I said to the guy, the day you become a Hittite, the day you raise your hand on my sister, is the day my sister leaves. Because when we look at relationship, it's communication, the key point. Communication and respect.
Exactly.
All right. Mind of a diva. You're just taking this all in, eh?
Yep.
Yep.
Well, and I guess I'll say I respectfully say this, that you guys have more experience in these areas than I do. So I'm still I'm still a newbie in the game, so so I'm learning and taking it in. But I think that both Sister D and Cool Tech said a lot of great things. I would say from as far as my background, even though I have both of my parents and they're together, I was raised, my family does like that whole village thing. So you're not raised by just mom and dad, you're raised by mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, aunts, uncles. And so my grandmother was a very independent woman. And I didn't learn how independent she was until after she passed. Mm-hmm. But she instilled a lot of values in me that her father had instilled in her. And so I wasn't raised looking at it at a guy as more of a provider, but as a partner. Yeah. And so my grandmother had multiple businesses. She taught me to have multiple businesses, to have my own way of making money and maintaining myself, and not look to a guy and, she would say, I don't want you going to a man telling him that you need gas in your car, that you need food on your plate, you need shoes to wear. You need to be able to provide and do that on your own. Don't be in a position where you can't get a job because you don't have the education to do so. Make your own way and be never be in a place where you are not trying to seek more knowledge, where you're not trying to better yourself. Mm-hmm. Don't get to a place where you're complacent. And so that's kind of how I was raised. I played with dolls, and I vaguely remember playing house and games like that. But I remember even with that, all of my dolls had their own jobs, and they had their own little cars. They were my slippers. I didn't have a Barbie car, but they had a car, and they would. That was kind of what I always wanted to do. I always told people I wanted to be a teacher until I learned about writing and wanted to do that. But I always thought of myself as having a job and then being able to, have a family at the same time, not just be someone where, I get a man and I get married and I just get to sit around the house and, kind of like Sister D said, I watch all my children all day and I vacuum and I put on my pearls. And when he comes home, there's a roast right out of the oven. That's definitely not the life that I would wish for myself. And then if I ever have a daughter, I would want to wish that life for her. I would want, I'm all about you have talents and purpose inside of you. So you need to share that with someone and not just put those things on a shelf because of a status or because of a person being in your life or not being in your life. Exactly. And so, that was just kind of my little 2 cents that I wanted to add in there that I was taught growing up. And
okay. No, that's good stuff. Your contributions are great. Well, I think we're winding down here, so I want to have each of you, if you have any final comments to share with us. So in the tradition of the Dr. Vibe Show, we go ladies first. I'm going to go first up, Sister D.
Well, I want to thank you for allowing me to be on this platform. I really, I was trying to watch Have and Have Nots. Okay. And I saw the thing pop up. I said, ooh, that sounds like a good topic. So that's why I came in, because I'm interested in the balance between the man and the woman. And we somehow have lost that balance. And so this was good, and I enjoyed it, and I will be coming back to more of your shows, Dr. Vibes. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Well, my pleasure, and I'm following you on Blab. I'm also going to follow you on Twitter, so we'll certainly keep in touch.
All right.
I will let Cool Tech next.
Okay. Well, again, I would like to say thanks for allowing me to be part of the show as well. I learned a lot. And those are the kind of conversations that I really like, because it helps. And I believe, if we can in some way spread the word in terms of, how we communicate with each other, how we treat each other, the kind of values that we look for when looking for a life partner, and in our own selves, if we want someone to value us for who we are. I think these are the things we need to continue to put out there. And it was just great being part of this conversation, Dr. Vibe. I couldn't resist joining in tonight. When I saw the notification. So thanks for having me here as well, and a pleasure to meet the rest of our guests, Mind of a Diva, Sister D. And of course, it's a pleasure, Dr. Vibe, to be here as well.
Yeah. Thank you. And I did one thing wrong. Sister D, if people want to contact you, what's the best way?
They can contact me at on Facebook. It's Dolores Sister D Barbie. They can contact me at my radio station, rockerscorner.com. We play reggae music, conscious and positive music. 100% positive, 100% conscious for your mind and your spirit.
Wonderful. And Cool Tech, if they want to touch base with you?
You can do that on Facebook by just typing www.facebook.com/cooltech, or you can find me on Twitter at cooltech as well. So those are the things you can, or via email, cooltechtv@gmail.com.
Excellent. And Mind of a Diva, we started this, I can't even remember when we started this, and you had trouble getting on, and now look what you created.
We got a monster on our hands.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing. How can, any parting words, and how can people touch base with you?
Well, I share what they said. Thank you so much for having me. And like you said, we talk all the time. So you told me about this last night, and I'm glad that we had the chance to do it, do Blab. And now that I know what it is, join in more, and just really glad that I was able to meet both of you guys. It was such a pleasure learning and just conversing with you guys. And then the way that you can find me online is at mindofadiva.com, and also Mind of a Diva on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest.
Wonderful. And before I give my final little take here, I'd like to say thanks for joining, Andrea Rader. I know we're signing our way out, but thanks for giving props to the participants. I love this because this is what I'm all about. I've been doing these sort of conversations. I've been blessed with these conversations for almost 9 years. And when I thought about this, I said, perfect, this is Blab, just let's start blabbing. And look what happened. I don't even know when we started, and I don't care when we started because it was great. So I'd like to say thanks to Sister D, thanks to Cool Tech, thanks to Mind of a Diva, thanks to the Per blog, who was the controller of this event tonight. She controlled all the things behind the scenes. I think that finding Mr. Right and finding Mr. and Ms. Right starts with one thing: finding you.
Yes.
Once you start finding you, then you'll get everything else right. Whether it's finding Mr. Right, finding Ms. Right, finding right friends, finding right people in your life, finding right things in your life. It all starts with you.
Exactly.
So it's Dr. Vibe here. I'm host and producer of the award-winning The Dr. Vibe Show. Also host and producer of the monthly Good Men Project show at thegoodmenproject.com, one of the most viewed sites in the world for men. And you can catch me also most Sunday evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, hosting Do You Know What Time It Is, which is a Black Men's Roundtable where they comment about news events and stories. And there is another show coming. So as Mind of a Diva's friend would say, get ready, get ready, get ready. I'd like to say, God bless, peace be well, keep the faith, and bye-bye.
Good night.